Yo, I got a question for you. How consistent are you in your life and style? And I want to start having these questions for you because Tony Robbins says that the measure of a man is often in the questions that he asks himself. I'm paraphrasing, I could be completely wrong, but that's what I heard in my head. So I'm curious, how consistent are you in your life and in your style? And I ask this question because Jim Rohn also says that how we do anything is how we do everything. And so a lot of times when I'm talking to fellas in my private coaching or in style architects, my cohort, I ask them like about their look. Like, what does your look say about you? And most of them can't give me a consistent answer because they're inconsistent with their image. And that also usually reflects that they're inconsistent with their identity. So they don't even have a true version of, and sorry for the shaking, that's what happens sometimes when you're in your car. They don't have a true reflection of what they are saying, who they want to say, who they see, and who they want to be when they are stepping out. And so they keep on showing up inconsistently. So I want to challenge everybody here today to be consistent with your look. And we're going to talk about with your life and your style. We're going to talk about 3 ways to do that. The first one is to be very, very clear about what it is that you want to see. To be number 2, figure out who you want to be and then what that looks like in different situations. And 3, figure out your individuality. Because I've told you, it's identity, your image, reflecting your identity to make a lasting impression. The real thing that's going to make your most lasting impression is you being able to be an individual. And that doesn't mean that you have to be some outlandish, over-the-top, extra type of dude. For most guys, that simply means that they are showing up with such a clear vision of themselves that people already see them as set apart. I had a friend for a year, all he wore was a black suit and a white shirt. And I was like, and black shoes. And I said, fam, like, no disrespect or anything, like, why are you doing that? And he was like, because he was a stylish dude. He was like, bro, I don't have the bandwidth to be thinking about what I'm gonna wear, even though I am in the fashion space. He said, and I know that most designers, if you look at somebody like Tom Ford, you look at somebody like Karl Lagerfeld, you look at somebody, even like a new designer, most of them will wear like a black suit, or they'll wear like white shirt, black jeans, or blue jeans, right? They stay very, very consistent because that then doesn't capsize their creativity. So as he was in his creative space, he was like, this is all I'm wearing. It's all I'm going to, because I have to focus on what it is that I'm seeking to produce. And it became so notable for him. Like, everybody started remembering him as the cat in the black suit. I think it was like a pinstripe suit, but he was like the cat in the black suit, white shirt in New York, right? Fashion capital of the world, where everybody wears black. This dude had a well-tailored black suit, white shirt, black shoes, and everybody remembered him. And I remember thinking, theorizing, like, man, people are gonna get sick and tired of seeing him in his black suit. Nobody ever did. Nobody ever did. And you can see other examples in this with somebody like Cornel West. Cornel West wears black 3-piece suit. He'll usually have on a scarf, and I think in the summertime you'll see him with a tie on. So there's this level of consistency that creates something for a lot of fellas that they often miss. They often diminish themselves because they are inconsistent with their image and their identity. And this also will show up with a guy who is trying to be something that he's not by going to different places. If you've been rocking with me for a little while, you've heard me tell the story of going out to clubs and I never fit in there, even though I was welcome there. And there's a difference between understand where you're welcome and then also where you fit, where you align, right, where you connect. And at a club, even though I fit in because I was tall, I was well dressed, I wasn't a party type, I wasn't turning up, but I looked like I was cool in there. I never felt comfortable because I never felt like I was being true to myself. I always felt like you don't really even enjoy this. And if you need to know how you will, how much you really enjoy something, just remove something from it. So if you're going to a club, for instance, and you want to really know if you like going out to the club, don't drink when you go there. Have water, or have soda, or a ginger ale or something else, but don't have any alcohol, and see how you enjoy it. Now, when I told a friend to do this, an interesting thing happened for him. He was like, bro, I love going to the club. And I was like, for real? He was like, yeah, I love the camaraderie. He likes to dance, so he would get out and dance. And he was like, bro, and the best thing about it was I stayed hydrated. He said, I didn't wake up with a hangover, and I remembered who I was talking to, because he would have chicks in his phone, and he'd be like, I don't know who this girl is, like, right? So it allowed him to realize that he enjoyed it. When I went and I removed and didn't drink, I was ready to go within 45 minutes. It was cool, but it wasn't something that I really enjoy. If you are a person who says, like, I like going out to festivals, right? Remove your friends from the festival. Just go to a festival or go to a concert by yourself and see if you really enjoy the energy of the space, the artists' performances, and how you're interacting in that space. Because maybe you don't like going to festivals, you just like hanging out with your friends. If you really like Suits, I want you to remove the limitations of what that suit is. And this is going to sound counterintuitive, but just rock with me for a sec. I want you to remove you just having to have a collar on, and I want you to think about 4 different ways that you can wear this. And this is going to move into the consistency conversation, right? So the more consistent that you can be with a look, the more consistent that character arc starts to happen. And the more you start finding sequences for you to wear these things. And all a sequence is a pattern that you're going to keep on reviewing over and over and over again. And the more that you have that pattern, the more it becomes a presentation, because it's something that is going to elicit a response every time people engage in it. So if you're a guy who likes suits, I often ask my clients, are you a suit and tie guy? You're like, what do you mean? If you were to go to a wedding and you wore a suit and a tie, and we go to reception, and it's the end of the night, you're having a great time, is that tie still on? 85% of my guys are like, nah, that tie's off. That tie's been off for about 2 hours, right? After I had that second drink, tie came on, right? So you're not a suit and tie guy. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. So then I say, okay, when you're getting this suit, how many ways can you wear it? Like, I don't know, man. I was just thinking like tie, no tie, and then that's it. And then we start having a conversation, and I start talking to them about different types of shirts that they can wear. Or I start talking to them about a dressier knit shirt that they can wear, a t-shirt, and or a popover that they could throw on. Or in the fall and winter, you have a turtleneck, you have a great lightweight sweater with a shirt that can be under it, or the sweater by itself. They start to see the opportunities that they can leverage for their look. And when you can do that, when you can start showing up in that space in a consistent way, well, now you have more confidence each time you wear it, because competence breeds the confidence. So the more competent that you are, like, no, I know this works together. I've done a V-neck, lightweight knit. It's a little bit heavier gauge than a t-shirt, and it was long sleeve. It worked well. I threw that on with my suit, and then I threw that on with a pair of deck shoes. I thought it wasn't gonna work, but it really worked. Everybody loved it, and I loved it, so that's gonna go into my repertoire. I'm gonna throw that back on. I am going to throw on a pair of loafers, and then I threw on a great polo, right? A long sleeve polo with the proper collar. That went over like gangbusters for me. I felt good when I put it on and stepped out and got great response. Well, now you're starting to see these things show up. Now, once you can do that, you have something that you are always confident in. So in any scene or scenario, you already know what you need to wear and what you can wear in that space. And I know certain guys are like, yeah, but what happens if people see me in it again? It's gonna sound a little mean-spirited, and it's not. But nobody cares. Nobody knows who you are. You're not a celebrity, so nobody cares enough to say like, fam is in that thing again. You can wear the same suit or same blazer or same jeans to your job every day, and 95% of people are not going to care. And they're not going to care not because you're not important. Don't misunderstand that. Not because you're not important. They don't care because they got their own stuff going on in their own life. They are consumed with their own issues and problems, their own insecurities, and so they don't really pay attention to what you're doing and who you are. And by the time that you've really started to cultivate that character through those the sequences of your style, you're going to find that now you have some diversity. Now you have some different ways for you to put something together. Now you have a different way of saying the same thing. In a simple way, you can say it in a, I'm sorry guys for I'm gonna figure out this thing because it wasn't doing this earlier. That bouncing is, I know that can be a headache. So shout outs for y'all for staying with me. But you have all these ways for you to show up. So my challenge for you is, I want you to go to work with the same thing on. Wash your joints. But like, if you have a suit, wear that same suit every day, just for a week. And if you don't have to go in every day, that's even better, right? So you'll have it 3 days out of the week instead of 5 days out of the week. Wear the same thing every day for a week. So white shirt for some guys. If you have a suit, blue suit, and a great pair of loafers. And I want you to wear that same thing every day to see, first and foremost, how you feel in it. And then two, observe how many people notice what you have on. And if you have multiple white shirts or multiple blue shirts, multiple pink shirts, dark denim can never look new even if you wear it 5 days. Wear the same, they buy 5 pairs of the same denim, those every day. And the reason why it doesn't look new, and it's not, the goal is to not look new. The goal is to look together, to look consistent. And this is something that is interesting. Thank you for sharing that comment, because that's actually an interesting dynamic that a lot of men have. A lot of men would rather look new than look consistent. A lot of men would rather say, yeah, but I got all this new drip, than to have a consistent look. And that's part of where the problem is. You can't create any consistency or any competence or confidence if you're constantly trying to switch up who you are and who you say that you are showing up as. You just can't. You can't show up doing one thing one day. I'm gonna do streetwear on Monday. I'm gonna do preppy on Tuesday. I'm gonna do sartorial on Wednesday. I'm gonna do rock chic on Thursday, and then I'm gonna do bohemian on Friday. I'm gonna take a stand at some point and say, this is who I am. And the great thing about that is, once you take that stand, then you can start showing up in those different versions of yourself in the most consistent way possible. So for instance, if you are a guy, like I'm a guy who's sartorial, I do enjoy the drape and the essence of bohemian style, but I don't like all that flowy type of, that ain't me. So I like novelty shirts that will have something that's fun on them. I like color. I like the softness that color can create. I like texture. I like not conforming to professional norms, not necessarily societal norms, because I'm very traditional in a lot of those ways, but those are the elements. And so for me, what you'll find when you look at my style is it's colorful, it's texture, it's sensual, and it has this kind of bohemian undertone, especially with what I'm continuing to evolve into. And so that looks different in a casual space, that looks different in a business casual space, that looks different in a professional space, that looks different in a formal space, and that also looks just different when I'm chilling and when I'm hanging out. So the consistency for most guys is, yo, can I practice who I am on an ongoing basis so that people have an awareness of who I am? You should be so consistent with who you are that your presence precedes you. It's no different than if you watched any of these movies and seen like a mobster, or you've seen like the cool kid. He'll walk into a space and he'll be like chilling, not saying anything. Somebody will be like, you know who that is? That's such and such. Man, like, he's the captain of the football team, captain of the debate team. Everybody knows who that is. You be like, man, I ain't never heard of him. Be like, well, you need to know him. Or if you're talking to a mobster, like, yo, you know who such and such is? He killed such and such and such. Like, he runs the 5 families over him. Like, right? And so that creates your reputation. Your reputation has an image behind it. It has an identity tied to it. And so the more you can be aware of that, the more you can be intentional about that, and the more you can be consistent about that, the more you are prepared to show up as the best version of yourself. Always. And then you don't even have to worry about practicing it, and you can continue to build on it. That's why slow style is important. That's why stealth wealth style is important, or silent luxury is important, because it gives you the opportunity to build something so consistently that you don't have to worry about whether or not it's new, whether or not it's cool, whether or not it is trendy, because you make it cool. Your authenticity draws other people in and has people wanting to interact with you, and that doesn't have to be trendy. And so you can buy higher quality items so that people are like, dang, man, every time I see him, he's on point. Every time I engage with him, he has something insightful to say. And his philosophy and his perspective doesn't ever change. It grows, it evolves. But he hasn't changed his philosophy in the time that I've known him. And I guarantee you that makes you more attractive. More women are like, oh, like, I know I can't test him on this, because he's going to say this, and this. And he can back up what he's saying based on his own awareness of himself and his experience, and then also his studies. Because the more consistent you are, the more you want to know. You find this happy medium of sort of being bored, and that teaches you persistence, right? But then you start to go deeper into the understanding of what it is that you're really seeking to express. And then you start to embody that. And when you embody something, you have a purpose and a philosophy for how you're going to live. Nobody can shake that. And the more consistent you can be in that space, the better off everybody's going to be. I'm reading your Next 5 Moves by Patrick Bet-David with my group. And one of the things that he was talking about was that your philosophy should be repeated so much that people get tired of it, that people like say it before you do. And they also utilize it when you're being out of character, when you're not being a true representation of yourself. They can be like, but didn't you say that? And they may say it mockingly. But all that is a opportunity for you to realign yourself with your purpose and with your philosophy, with your presentation, and ultimately with who you say that you are. It's all about being consistent. Our consistencies create our characters and our sequences for how our story is going to be told. And I want to make sure that you're telling the best story of your life, because you were meant to be the star and the hero of it. So I want you to try this on, see how it fits you. If it fits you well, make sure that you take on the challenge of wearing the same look. Just wear the same look this week. Wash it, clean it. If you have a jacket, remember you don't need to wash your jacket. You don't need to dry clean your jacket every week or every day. All you need to do is hit it with a little steam, put it out, let it rest for the evening, and it should be ready to go the next day. And then after that week, you know, give it a week, right? Let it sit, let it rest. But this will also tell you about the quality of your clothing. If you're worried about it falling apart, if you're worried about it breaking down, if you're worried that it's not going to be a good piece, then now we need to start talking about the quality of your decisions in clothing and in life, right? And maybe we'll talk about that next week. If you want me to talk about that next week, make sure you leave that in the comments. Outside of that, be great today. Then again, you already are. You knew that. So now all you have to do is show up and show out in style, remembering that dress is nothing more than the expression of a man's state of mind. So you, yes, you should always dress to address your life and your style. You deserve it. I'll see you next week. Peace.